Joy Adler. And tomorrow night, Joy and her band, the Souls of Evolution, are going to be at the Unitarian Church. And you know, you just got a taste of it tonight, so you may want to come out tomorrow night. So welcome. Thank you all so much for coming here today on your New Year's Day. And I'm just so very, very grateful for each and every one of you. So I've been thinking the last 3 months about, you know, what to say today. And I didn't come up with anything, so I guess walk up. I've been thinking so much about this because I know I get so precious little time to talk to you. I get so little time to convey to you such a big, important idea. And that important idea is how important you are to this work. You know, the Albany Peace Project team, you know, we can put all this together. Karen Reinhold can do some numbers, but none of this really is going to be any different than anything happening anywhere else unless people like you step up on a day-to-day basis and practice the meditations. So we can't do this. It's kind of like we're laying a beautiful table and we're really inviting you to come and eat. Come and eat. Because this idea that we're all living this. I've been in this organization now, or Unity now, for over 20 years. And it's been so beautiful to watch all of us, how we've all grown and changed. And we've really gotten this idea of intention and how well it works. And how the final subtleties of it, and to being able to kind of know where to, you know, where does it stop, where does it end, how to use it. And we've been working with it for 20 years, and it's such a blessing to me, just to let you know, the people in this church that I've been watching for 20 years, you bless me every time I see you. Because I see just the growth, and the joy, and the love, and, you know, and it just keeps expanding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is just such a blessing to see. And what I'm going to ask today is for us to step it up a little bit. Because I'm seeing that many of us have these benefits in our own lives, and we're seeing it. But as Marianne Williamson talks about, every legitimate path always includes somehow that we alleviate the suffering of others. Okay? So this idea that we've been training in how to do this intention, and it is a mental discipline, and we are doing it. And I'm just going to ask you to put it in service for others, because they need you. They need you. That this is a very rare opportunity where your intentions will be able to be documented. So I've been thinking a lot about this, because sometimes people say, well, you know, I'm part of the peace program, or I'm doing it, you know, I'm not pulling a trigger, and I'm not, you know, I'm not bombing places, so I must be part of the peace movement. But what I want, and that's fair, and I don't mean to say that that's not important, and it's true. But there's another step here, and we're going to talk about this. It's about intentional research. It's about this idea of us voting with our hearts. It's about asking more of what we want for. Because when we look at the news, we see a lot of darkness. But I'm starting to think that maybe it's not that there's, quote, so much darkness, but that there's an absence of light. That we're not invoking enough light. And the research from Lynn McTaggart tells us that intention is actually well-ordered light. So this idea that this is such an opportunity, I mean, did you not feel the gorgeousness in this room just a few moments ago? Right? You were saying how beautiful everybody looked. You must have seen light, right? I could just feel it, and I'm sitting there thinking, it's so easy. It's so simple. It's the distance to here. Right? And for some reason, we're all missing it. It's literally below our nose, but we're missing it. And that's what keeps me going, is this amazing technology within us. You know, we're all into this external technology, but we have the best technology right here, and we miss it. And so the Albany Peace Project has designed this whole month that we're going to be training you how to take your mind, go down to your heart, and reach for a better emotion. Okay, so that's the kick to it. The key is that elevating your emotions so that when you get off the meditation cushion, you're a different person than when you got down. Okay, and so the way this works is that bring your mind into your heart, and then you reach for a better feeling. Now I want to share with you one study from the Institute of Heart Math that demonstrates just the difference between just feeling good for yourself and this idea of sending an intention. So what they did was they wanted to see if they could, find a way to, they were researching intention as usual. And what they did was they decided, would it be possible for individuals to influence DNA in a petri dish? Okay, and so that was the idea, that if they could influence DNA, because this idea, I guess, with healing, DNA has to unwind and rewind for healing to occur. So they wanted to know whether or not that could happen. So they had 3 groups of individuals, and the first group was trained to go into coherence. Basically what we talked all about last year, anchoring in the heart, or elevating for a good feeling. So they sat there and they got coherent. But then the next group kind of sat in front of the petri dish, and they kind of stayed in their head, and they just kind of, they were like, DNA unwind, like just kind of like, and so this idea of just sending a verbal word intention to the DNA to see if it would unwind. But in the third group, what they did was they had people going into the coherent state within, and from that coherent state, sending an intention to the DNA. And out of the 3 groups, the first 2 groups were unable to influence the DNA at all, and in the third group, they were able to influence the DNA, unwind the DNA, sometimes as much as 25%. So you see, there's a protocol here. We're working here. We're trying to figure out how much does this stuff work? How much will this hold us up? But this idea that, yeah, you can feel good for yourself, and walk around, but if you're not putting your boat out, then we're missing an opportunity. It's kind of like, say you were to be voting for, just say you found a presidential candidate that you were really enthusiastic for. It could happen, right? So just say you were really excited about a candidate, right? And you're thinking about the candidate, and you watch them on television, and you just think it's really cool, and you tell friends about it, and then voting day comes, and then you don't go vote. Okay? So what's happening is people say, oh, I know about the Albany Peace Project. I know. And sometimes, oh, I've heard of the Albany Peace Project, but then people don't vote. So last year we had half as many people participate as the year before, okay? So this idea that we're laying this table and we're having this wonderful session here, and my heart is opening, there's no doubt that there's gorgeousness going on here. But I'm really going to ask you to keep it going for the rest of the month. Keep it going for the rest of the month. Because there seems to be, and did you feel that connection? Did you feel the connection? And that connection is really powerful. It actually, I'll talk about this tomorrow night at the Science of Peace and Happiness, but that connection is real, that actually totally adds to our happiness levels. And one of the things that keeps me so much in that connection, because a lot of times I feel like I'm working in a vacuum. I don't get the feedback from what's going on. I'm kind of behind the camera, I'm kind of always in the grueling things that I kind of sometimes, what keeps me going when I don't get much feedback from the rest of the world is remembering a few things. And I want to share some of those things with you so that when you're walking out through the month and you say, oh, I don't have time to meditate, oh, I don't have time, I'm just going to ask you to remember from some of these things. One of the things that keeps me going is that in the near-death literature, and we're so lucky now to have all these people that have died and come back. Yeah, it is a blessing. I love them. And they come back, and what is it that they all say when they all pass? They transition, they switch from this world to the other world. And what are the things that they always say? Let's throw this out. Who's got the light? The what?
Come back.
I didn't want to come back. What else? Love. Right.
Peace. Oneness.
Oneness. That's what. Right. That's one of peacefulness. Yep. That's what they all say. They all transition. So they all leave their body for a minute and they go, oh man, that's right. I'm connected to everything and we're all connected and there's this medium that connects us that's love. Okay? Like that's what's going to happen. That's the punchline to your life. No matter what happens in your life, who does what to you, what happens, the punchline of your life is you're going to transition at that moment and go, wow, that was an amazing game. It was an amazing experience. So as Tim and I were talking about the other day, why not start this now? Right? So that's what the Albany Peace Project is. We're remembering our true nature. We're remembering who we really are. And we're seeking to bring heaven on earth now. Okay? And we've all been training. We know, a lot of us know it's possible. We can do it. It's whether or not we train. So that's one thing that keeps me going. Another thing that keeps me going is this idea of prayer research or on plants. Okay? So this idea that we can, when people send intentions to plants plants grow taller and seeds yield more. So seeds yield more and plants grow taller. So I like that. So when I'm sitting there going, does this stuff work? And oh my goodness, are we ever going to go there? Are we going to get enough people? And I got 10 years to do it. The number's going to show anything. And I go, plants and seeds. So plants and seeds are the fact that it's a repeatable, it's reliable, that when people send intentions to plants and seeds, the plants grow. And you know why they grow? Because they don't argue with it. Never going to stand there and say, you know, I'd really like to grow taller, but, you know, my dad had spots and my mom built it all the time, and, you know, there's just no possible way I can grow any taller. You know, a plant will say, oh, you want me to become more of who I am? Okay. Right? So remember that when you're saying, is this stuff important to the work, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it does. But we're dealing with people, and that's a big unknown variable. but that being said, that just means we need to increase our light. We need to increase the dosage, okay? So that we can have a collective response. So those are the things that kind of keep me going so much. And I'm also going to share with you right now, can you go to the graph? Some of the things, the graph. First of all, I just want to say, can you go back to that bus thing? The bus thing the right before. I just want to show, if Beth was showing this, see that? Those are the kids on the bus. The Mindful Moments person said, Bethany, I was on the bus, we're on this thing, and they made me do the Mindful Moments on the bus. They made me do it, Bethany. I didn't even want to do the Mindful Moment. So all the kids on the bus, they all did this slow moving thing, and the bus driver was like, what is going on? So the big question is, you know, do kids want to learn to meditate? And I say, yeah. These are kids begging for it, and this is what we see over and over and over again. The kids that resist the most very often will be the kids that come in and go, are we going to do that quiet time today? Are we going to do that mindful moment today? Because they know that they're touching something inside themselves that they're not touching anywhere else. There's too much distraction. There's all these electronics, there's all this noise, all this music, all this, all that, and there's that one place that they've touched and they go, I'll remember that, right? And so that's what these kids were doing. She said, Miss Curtis said, Bethany, they made me do it. I didn't want to do it. All right, so if we could go forward to the next graph one. Okay, so another thing that keeps me going in this big, long process here. Okay, so if you see here that this is the one from 1993. It's from the Transcendental Meditation Organization, who's done amazing research in all of this, okay? And so what you're going to see here is that this was done during a summer in 1993 in Washington, D.C. So if you can see here the number of weeks, here we go. Down here at the bottom here is the number of weeks. So here's from the first week out to 8 weeks. So it was 8 weeks over the summer. This is the number of meditators here. It went from 0 all the way up to 4,000, okay? So, and then this right over here is what they call the percent drop in violent crime. So specifically they were looking at assaults, murders, and rapes. So basically down here on this side, this is the percentage drop in crime. Now they had an estimate. They had an estimate based on their numbers and based on everything that they thought that if they did this, crime would decrease by 22%, all right? So here's, as we go, now over the few weeks, people were flying into Washington, D.C., so more meditators were coming in, and so as you move along here, as we move along here, we're actually increasing to 4,000 meditators. Now look at the crime stats. Here's the beginning, week 1, as time goes on, as the number of meditators increases, the percent drop in crime increases. How beautiful is that? In fact, they were wrong that actually violent crime had actually reduced by 23%, not the 22% that they thought. So another thing when I'm walking around Albany saying, why am I doing this? I think about this graph. But I don't just think about this graph. Oh, notice how these results are considered off the charts, Dr. John Foldy would say, and less than 2 in 1 billion said, there's a less than 2 in 1 billion that this could have been done by chance. These are records considered off the charts. Bryce, can you go to the next one? Now here's the thing. The TAM organization has done this amazing research, and they make it through the rigorous peer review process to make it through these very prestigious journals. These are just a handful. You can read them just so it can sink in. the Journal of Conflict Resolution, the Journal of Mind and Behavior, Psychological Reports, Journal of Offender Rehabilitation, Psychology, Crime and Law, Journal of Social Behavior and Personality, Journal of Crime and Justice. New Age Weekly is not up there. Meaning, like, these are rigorous journals that this data is in over and over and over again. And I couldn't understand 20 years ago when I first saw it why this stuff wasn't shouted from the rooftops. You mean really? You mean really all we need to do is kind of get quiet and send, that's all we need to do? So it's that journal, those things that keep me going as well. Now, granted, the team organization has a totally different protocol. They've done amazing work. But part of the reason why I think that more people don't know about it is because in science, things need to be replicated and duplicated. They need to be done by other organizations. It needs to be, validated through other organizations, other independent research. That's where we are. Okay? Do you see how important you are to this work? I mean, are you really starting to get it? And I can't think of a better time in history than we should be coming together to do more of this work. Can you go on to the next one? So yeah, the Dalai Lama did say, if every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we would eliminate violence in the world within 1 generation. Now, I'll give you a perfect example of why that's true. It just happened in a Schenectady school a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I went to a school, a really challenging school, a lot of behavior issues. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd given them a body scan, a basic body scan, nothing, And it was only the second day. I'd given them 1 hour of training and a body scan. So the next day, there's a reading teacher, and she's sitting there with a child, and the child's being really obstinate. So she had pulled the child from class to give him extra reading help, and the child was not reading. He was not helping, he was not working with her, and she's getting frustrated because that's her profession. She went to school to teach, to inspire higher learning, and this child is not letting her do her job, and all of the stress and pressure of that, and she got so frustrated that in the end she kind of said, okay, fine, you don't want to do that? Okay, we're going to do this. And pulls out the body scan I'd given her at 3 o'clock the day before. And she says, okay, so allow yourself to get settled in the chair, and allow yourself to allow your eyes to gently close, look to the ground, or close them, and allow your awareness to go around your head and your shoulders, relaxing your shoulders and your torso, and relaxing your hips and thighs and legs, and feeling, floor underneath you, and then she can bring your mind to your breathing, and takes them on this whole body scan, and in the end, she says, okay, allow your eyes to gently open and welcome back. And the very first words out of this child's mouth was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's how simple this is. And it's really not rocket science. Essentially what happens is if when we're wound up, we're in the back of the brain, and when you calm it, when you calm yourself, then you're able to hit higher ordered functioning, and you're able to think intelligently and come up with intelligent solutions. I don't know about you, but I think all of us could use a little bit more of that. And these kids, for them to be able to calm down, the statistics suggest that kids, when they learn these skills, not only do suspensions and detentions go way down, often from 40 to 90%, often around the 70 to 80% range, decrease in suspensions and detentions, but grades go up by 10 to 25%. Ritalin can't touch that. Adderall can't touch that, right? Selling a free product, okay? Because it's literally beneath our nose. The answer is so here. It's so here. And imagine how much society would change. Healthcare would change, children would change, incarcerations would change, prisons would change. It's like I can't stop talking about it because, and it costs nothing. It costs nothing, right? So is this was there one before this? No, that's it. So I just want to share with you a little bit about how this will make a difference in your life. This was, Lynn McTaggart did a study, and this was some of the responses that they had. She had people 10 years after 9/11, she had someone from the East represent the East and her from the West, and they did a mutual forgiveness ceremony. and they had people send peaceful intentions at the time to Afghanistan, which was a place that was she thought both sides would agree could use some peace. And she had them all send peaceful intentions to that area. And when she surveyed the people, incidentally, they found the largest downward trend in attacks since the war had begun 3 months after, okay, just to let you know. And, but when she surveyed the people who actually participated, they said after participating in the study, the Eastern participants reported 56% felt more optimistic that world peace is achievable, and 25% said they got along better with strangers. And then when she surveyed the West, people from the West, 70% felt more inner peace, and 56% felt a change in their relationships with everyone with whom they came into contact. Okay? So this idea, and her latest realm of research is this idea that when we intend for others, when we intend healing for others, we get healed. When we intend prosperity for others, we get prosperity. When we intend peace for others, we're going to have peace. Okay? And that's her research that's coming out in the next few years. Okay? So this intention, this idea that we need to stay the course. We need to stay the course. There's also a training effect, that the more we train an intention, the better we get, the more disciplined we get. We're able to hold the note, to hold that note for peace and put it out there enough so it's registered. So this idea that we have, 8 more to go of these? And this idea that each year we need to be gathering more and more people who are trained so that we can demonstrate this effect. Because this is when people will take this work seriously. So finally, I just want to close with one last thing, and that is it's something that I don't have any data for, I don't have any statistics for, I can't point to anything other than the fact that I've seen it kind of empirically and I've lived it myself. And that is that there seems to be this alchemy that happens when we take a stand in our own mind for that which we believe is good and right and true. So this idea of, instead of saying, well, you can't have peace in the world, it's impossible. You know, the Bible says, oh, never have peace this, and we can't have peace. Well, you get all these crazy. You're right. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm really not a big fluff person. If you haven't noticed, I kind of need numbers, and I'm really not a big, and so the idea is I get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying, but I will tell you that there is an alchemy that when you hold in your mind something and you don't argue with it and you honor it, that what happens is you actually become more, as you're honoring the dignity and humanity of others, then your shoulders go back and your head goes up. That when we become our brother's keeper, when we become holding in our heart a thought that we know is good and right and true, that there will be a spring in your step and you will feel a dignity. Because I've heard it said that dignity, we don't really know our own dignity until it's challenged. So you will feel an inherent dignity for yourself and others that tends to just pervade in anything you do. And just finally, one of the things, if you ever want to go home and Google, I've been looking at it, they call Tank Man, that gentleman in Tiananmen Square in 1989. That gentleman that stood so tall and proud in front of like 4 tanks. That the day before the government had done some horrible things. And that gentleman was just standing there in front of a tank just saying, see me as a human being. See me as a human being. And so the tank tried to go around him and he was like, no, see me as a human being. And then after a while, he climbs into the tank. He wanted to see the face of the person in the tank. And so that power, that strength of saying, I'm a human being and I may not feel like I can influence the news and I can go out there and change, but in my living room, I can take a stand. And I know this love and light that we just experienced here, and I can invoke the truth of that. And I will tell you, your days will go better, and you will just appreciate and savor each day even more as you go along. So I'm just going to hopefully inspire you with all of that. All right? Thank you.